And the fourth topic is benefit adequacy. In the field of benefit adequacy, CPAG observes that children, approximately 200,000 in number, whose families receive a benefit as their main source of income, are 4 times more likely than other children to live in poverty, that is, material hardship. CPAG advocates for the following positions. There's two parts to this proposition. Firstly, the folding of the in-work tax credit into the family tax credit to form one simple payment for which all low-income children are eligible. I'll repeat it. The folding of the in-work tax credit into the family tax credit to form one simple payment for which all low-income children are eligible. And the second part to our proposition is that the benefit abatement, that is the clawback threshold, be pegged to the equivalent of 15 hours of the minimum wage. The current clawback kicks in at 7 hours of work. The targeted move, in respect of point number 1 I've outlined, would cost approximately $500 million per year. It would be highly cost effective in helping lift children out of severe poverty and stop the discrimination against them. Again, the questions become, does your party support this policy? If the answer is yes, what are the specific steps your party would implement to carry out the policy and when? If the answer is no, what are the brief but precise reasons for respecting the policy? And I think, Nina, we're on to you. Thank you.
So, controversial opinion, but I'm going to say, no, we don't agree, because the Opportunities Party offers a better solution, which is the universal basic income. So quite rightly, like you say, the abatement issue is a huge issue. It keeps people in a poverty trap. You can't even work a full day of work and keep your money. So what the universal basic income would be, that we would propose, is that everybody in New Zealand, every citizen gets a certain amount of money, and at the moment we would just peg it to the current benefit rates, because at the moment the current system that we have with Ministry of Social Development is incredibly bureaucratic. You lose money as soon as you start earning money, and so you keep people in this poverty trap, and you force people into jobs that are low paying, low skill, and you can never really advance and never really make something of yourself. So with universal basic income, it's not bureaucratic, because you just give people the money, you save all this money from the bureaucracy of saying these people deserve money, these people don't. And then the problem with MSDs, because they're so overrun by the services that they need to provide, is that children who have disabilities, people who have disabilities who need supports for other things, they're not even getting the support they deserve, because the people who are working for MSD don't even know, what these people deserve, because they're so busy working on the income, job seeker support, and don't even get me started on the sickness benefit. So because people need money, right, to survive, but people on a sickness benefit, a lot of them, they need to go see their GP every 3 months or so, and that isn't impacting on our delivery of primary care services as well. So why are we saying these people need to qualify for certain things to achieve a basic income, when we could just say it's really easy to just give people money? It saves us in the long term, because we know poverty creates worse health, and so we can make those savings by actually giving people the money, reducing bureaucracy, and saying, and if you have the universal basic income and you earn money on top of that, you just get to keep what you earn, and the more you earn, the better. So you don't need to have that abatement to take your money away. And that's all I said, universal basic income.
Thank you.
I'm probably not going to answer your question directly, and I'm going to do it this way, because currently in New Zealand, 1 in 5 children live in poverty, and that's really high. So to actually do that, it's not a straightforward process. And what you're asking for, there's the levels of multitudes you've got to do to actually change our current legislation to ensure that our families have more, that our parents can actually have more money in their pocket. We've got to increase our levels of productivity. Currently our productivity levels are high and are poor. We're working longer hours for shorter pay. We need about another 20 to 30,000 in our pocket, which we don't have. And we've got to look at that as to how we can ensure that our kids, our babies, actually are healthy and warm and have the best education they currently have. So that's how I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to answer it that way. Because when you have 1 in 5 independency, we have a social welfare system that makes us dependent upon it. It does not improve our equity, it does not improve our income. And therefore the things that you do are so important, really important, because it gets us to think outside the current square that we're currently in, that this is the way that it should be done. Change has to take place. Productivity needs to increase, wages need to increase, better food on the table. Legislation needs to change to be able to ensure that what you're talking about can occur. Kia ora.
For me, I think making sure, once again, it's a judge us by our record thing. We lifted benefits to the CPI, so to inflation rate this year. We made sure that we got back to Ruth Richardson's mother of all budgets 2 years ago when we came back again in 2020 to make sure that our benefits are on level with those that are growing in terms of the inflation price. But also making sure that we give Working for Family the tax credit as well, a big lift as well, and that's been funded in this year's budget, but also I know that in the future, once again, this is judge us by our records, that I'm sure in the next Labour government we will continue with our policies of making sure that our families get looked after through the Working for Families tax credit. I just wanted to say a few things about our making sure that our workers and those who work in our economy gets a fair deal. I think Labour's vision has always been a high-wage, low-emissions economy, and making sure that we lift workers' wage, making sure that they get compensated fairly for what they do. That's part of our vision, and that's where we can really lift families out of poverty. And that also includes initiatives like the apprenticeship program, where children who might not excel at academics at school has another pathway into a great living, into great income for themselves, making sure that when we support them into those apprenticeships, that they learn something, they learn a skill to support them into the future, making sure that we provide fees-free training as well for especially some of those areas that we need the most in our economy, our carpenters, our electricians, our nurses, our counsellors, making sure that we get children, New Zealand children, excited about their future, and it's not just one single pathway, but it's about what they are good at and what they want to be interested in for their future, to make sure that we supplement their families and support them through whatever decisions they make in life as well.
Yes, we do. And how we would want to do it is, first of all, by acknowledging that poverty is a political choice, and therefore there is a way to fix it. And we want to introduce, I don't think this would be like a controversial statement, but look, what we want to do this election is bring what we call an income guarantee, which is of a baseline of $385, but with additional top-ups, recognizing that caregiving is one of our most important backbones of our economy. And it often isn't spoken as such, or remunerated as such either. And what we would do is replace Working for Families to basically provide a payment of $115 for the first child, and then $135 a week for the subsequent child, and then double the Best Start payment so that it's $140. When it comes to the abatement rates, we would bring the threshold all the way to 60K, and then the percentage at which it abates would be lowered to 18%, which is significantly lower, than meaning that those payments actually would be retained for longer and at a greater amount as people go into employment. And I think I do want to push back a bit both on the suggestion that the UBI as top spread. I'm keen to explore UBI, but if your UBI is below the poverty line, that still condemns people to a life of poverty. And this is why our income guarantee with the top-ups would lift every single family out of poverty. This is an important part of our income guarantee. Secondly, we will also move away from the horrible culture at work and income of speaking of things like dependency, because actually an income guarantee is about support, about empowerment, and about recognizing the labor that caregivers do, which is why we would also remove the relationship rules at work and income that have led to sole parents and people being criminalised for seeking support. And so that would be a key component to Franklin Guarantee and our plan to lift every family out of poverty.
Thank you. You've got two points.
No,
Oh, beg your pardon, I'm sorry. I'm presuming.
It's hot off the press for Te Pāti Māori. You know, under our plan, 98% of Aotearoa, that's 4.2 million people, will receive tax cuts. So we'll remove GST of kai, zero tax on the first 30k of your yearly income, zero tax for whānau on the benefit and pensions. A person who earns 30k per year will pay zero tax. That's $82 per week, $4,270 a year. If you earn 60k, it's $125 extra in your pocket a week, $6,520 per year. We're talking about eliminating child poverty, eliminating poverty within our whānau. Who are the whānau that are affected the most? It's our whānau. It's our people. But this is for all whānau. This is for Māori and non-Māori, that the tax policy that Te Pāti Māori are wanting to introduce. It's more money in your pocket to feed our babies, for nannies to shop, to pay for heating and power, to be able to get petrol to put in your car to get to mahi, to be able to have affordable transport. That's what we want. We want our people to feel valued. And that's our stance around when we think about the income. You know, I go on and about it all the time because I see it every day. I sit on a marae in Manurewa on South Auckland and see poverty, I see whānau in need. We're talking about here about removing MSD and the benefits. Do you know what? That's generational. That's not going to happen overnight. Can you imagine the poverty that's going to cause if you remove it? Yeah. Can you just imagine what's going to happen to all those whānau that are on pensions, our kaumātua and kuia, the effect that would impact it will have on them? Can you imagine for those whānau that are earning $30,000 or less that don't have access to a benefit anymore? This is long term.
Thank you.